Hello everyone, Just Goran here and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video. Today we are looking at the maned wolf because a lot of people voted on this one. If you didn't notice, while I was on holiday I released a little poll where people could vote on a whole bunch of animals to see which one people were most interested in. I wanted to make videos about all of them, so I thought let's just let people vote and then I'll kind of be able to prioritize them a little bit more. So that's why we're looking at the maned wolf today, our little weed pissy boys. Look at them spreading the smell of weed over there. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's what they do. Let's get looking at the zoos. Over here we're at the Aachener Tierpark, which was actually the first place I ever saw the maned wolf. Look at them over there walking around in the distance. It was in the winter. At first I didn't see them. They were inside at the start of the day, but actually even got to see them running. And oh my god, it was so cool. I was absolutely in love with this animal from the moment I first saw them in Planet Zoo, which was actually my introduction to them pretty much. And yeah, this is a pretty cool habitat. It's got a lot of bamboo over there that they can hide in if they want to. But yeah, just a nice bit of lushness, a nice little hedge in the front. But other than that, yeah, nothing too notable here. It's a pretty average enclosure. Next up we have the Tierpark Berlin, and over here we have a bush dog enclosure, and as you move along you get to the maned wolf enclosure alongside it. And yeah, it's mainly just a very big rectangle over here. It really is not much about it. There is some grass, some nice trees, and it smelled a lot like weed. That is the only thing I have to note there. Next up, Parc Animalier de Bouillon, where yeah, it's just similar. Well, why are all the enclosures at the start of this video? I'm just doing alphabetical order, by the way. They're just all kind of lame and boring at the start. I promise you it gets better. But yeah, this one's got a nice little slope over here, but yeah, no grass, just a hole. And you can see the backstage, and there we can see the maned wolf sleeping over there, which is quite nice. But yeah, next up is Dortmund. This one does list as having maned wolves on Zoo Tier Liste. I think I saw pictures of them being in this sort of area where the tapirs are also, but this enclosure was like all connected and opened up, so not sure if they're still there. Thought I'd just throw it in there anyway. Let's get to a nice zoo over here, the Zoo of Leipzig. We've entered the South America area. We have a bunch of education about all sorts of South American animals, including this one on anteaters, which I just really quickly wanted to include in this video. You've got these things where you can guess, like find all the 5 insect eaters, and this little thing that you can pull to get the tongue into the termite nest, which was amazing. Anyway, why am I focusing on the anteater? Well, they are also part of this habitat, because as we turn around from the maned wolf education, we can see the enclosure, we can see the maned wolf walking around in the background, but we could also see a termite mound because this is a shared enclosure between the anteater and the maned wolf, which is just really cool. I'm really happy that I've seen something like that, because I know it's possible, but still you don't believe it until you see it, right? Like, it's such an interesting mix. Also interesting about the mix here is that we've got this white-nosed coati enclosure next to it, but there is this bridge for them going over the enclosure, leading the coatis into their backstage. If this is not the backstage, I guess that's kind of the half backstage, and then this tunnel bridge thing leads them to their backstage, their off-show backstage, I guess you could say. But yeah, some more theming over here with these corrugated walls and some huts, but also just a lovely enclosure. Nothing too crazy. The rockwork in the back is quite nice, don't get me wrong, but compared to the other stuff at Leipzig, I did feel like they took it a little bit more easy, maybe with the budget here, just so that they can do more crazy stuff in the future again, of course. What is nice that we've got this little truck over here, a truck viewing area into bringing you more deeper into the enclosure. You can also view through the front, although not very well. The glass was incredibly dirty over there. So yeah, that was it for Leipzig. Next up we have Zoo Lille. We've already seen this enclosure once before, which will indicate to you that yes, it is a mixed enclosure as well. The enclosure is kind of a pit with these walls, wooden walls all the way around, and the pathway goes pretty much along the entire thing. You can almost do a complete circle, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we can see the maned wolves walking around the center over here, and they are absolutely awesome. I really love the openness of this enclosure. It really gives you that grasslands feel. And the other inhabitant we can find sleeping over here. It is a tapir, so yeah, just another South American animal that can be mixed with the maned wolves, which is just super awesome. It's so cool that all of these things are indeed possible. But yeah, the enclosure is nicely furnished with all sorts of things. Maybe not the most immersive with all the visible fencing and backstage and stuff, but still it looks quite nice. There's also this little outcropping over here, which brings you a little bit further into the habitat over here, where, and I pointed this out in the tapir video as well, but what's interesting is that they actually give the maned wolves a couple of spaces where they can get away from the tapir, or at least where the tapir cannot reach. If we look in the distance over there, we can actually see the maned wolf had just emerged between these wooden beams, and also over here we can see these wooden beams going into the enclosure, and yeah, the maned wolves can go through those and into these kind of more forested, lush areas, but the tapirs can't. So yeah, that's pretty interesting right there, I thought. And now we are going to move to another French zoo, Zoo Maubeuge, where we also have a maned wolf enclosure, and we're on these kind of wooden boardwalks in between all sorts of South American enclosures, and we can see the maned wolves over here alongside the water. There's a little hot wire over there to keep them out of the mode. We also see a whole bunch of turtles over there inside of the little pond over here. Yeah, this is a really cool looking enclosure. I love the kind of peek through the lushness that we get, and as you move on you have all the lushness back around you, really feeling like you're kind of in a jungle. As we move past our backstage over here, we've got this little viewing gallery over here with some windows into the enclosure as well. And the maned wolves were kind of sleeping all the way in the back, so didn't really improve my view on them, but hey, that's what it is. Next up we have Monde Sauvage over here, where at first we encounter this tunnel that brings us into a little kind of hut right in the center of this netted over enclosure, which I don't know why it's netted over. I'm not sure if that's for the maned wolves. Maybe there used to be something else in there with them. I don't know. But yeah, we move into the South American Highlands area over here, where we can see the hut we were in, and we can see that the roof is actually kind of what's keeping up the netting of the entire thing. It looks quite interesting. And over here we can see a maned wolf coming out of that netted part of the enclosure, because it is just open up over there, so the netting really doesn't do anything. But yeah, that leads into the rest of the enclosure over here. We've got a nice little waterfall, we've got a nice little plateau. We can see their backstage over there, as well as the backstages of some other animals in the distance. But yeah, just quite a nice enclosure over here, and it does give you really good views. Actually, all morning I was here, even though it was a little foggy, I got to enjoy the maned wolves going all over the place and doing all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, really awesome. Next up we are at the Zoo of Osnabrück, where we are also in the South America area. It actually occurred to me that a lot of these maned wolves exhibits are really in dedicated South America areas, or at least surrounded by other South America animals. So yeah, that's really cool to see. It doesn't always happen that way. Of course, sometimes that's for reasons, and sometimes, I don't know, it doesn't matter that much, but still it's cool to see. And this enclosure as well, it's not the most complex or anything. It is quite large. It may not be quite deep, but it's pretty long. Also across this little pond over here you could see some windows, and that actually creates a little cross view between the maned wolf exhibit and the tapir exhibit over here. So also from the tapirs you can see the maned wolves in the back. Anyway, on to the last zoo already. We're looking at some bush dogs over here at Dierenpark Zie-Zoo, because they are also right next to the maned wolves. Over here we can get a little peek into the backstage holding of the maned wolves. Sadly, I did not see any maned wolves either time I've been to the zoo, but we do have a nice viewing gallery over here, very similar to the one we saw at Zoo de Maubeuge actually, which is quite funny. But yeah, this is the exhibit. It's quite nice. It's a bit flat, not very interesting terrain, but there is some nice foliage all the way around. It looks very lush. That definitely helps the maned wolves in hiding, which is the reason I never saw them. But no, it's a pretty good enclosure. And yeah, that's it. Those are all the maned wolf enclosures that I have seen. Hope you enjoyed, got some maned wolf inspiration. I will see you next week. I'll try to remember to leave the link to the poll thing in the description, so if you haven't voted on which animals you really want to see next, you can do it there. It is not every animal in the game in that list, it's just the ones that I really want to make videos on. So yeah, expect those coming soon. Bye bye!